Howdy folks, welcome back to the vlog. This is the start of it. You're going to be getting a little bit of filming of me going to school today, and then we are going to start preparing for that trip tonight.
You what?
Isn't that awesome? It's approximately 10 to 4 in the morning. Yes, that's very early, but hey, what the heck? I couldn't help it. Gotta get up early, you know? So we're going to be getting going. You'll be seeing me a little bit later when we go to school. So, let's get this show on the road, shall we? This is going to be a great day. Hoo-yah! Hey, folks. It's a little bit after 5. And hey, it's time for breakfast. So let's see what we got for breakfast today. Here we are. I like to start with a good breakfast sandwich. Sausage, egg, and cheese on a croissant. Ho ho ho. Bag of grapes. I gotta tell you, if there's one fruit that I eat in this house, it's grapes. Last time my family got a bag of this stuff, I was the only one that ate the bag. And finally, a nice good drink of Sunny Delight. Nothing like a good couple of classics. Well, let's chow down, shall we? And we will catch you when we're at Buff State. Peace out. Well, folks, here we are at Buff State. It's approximately 4 minutes to 7 in the morning. That's right, I got here before 7 o'clock. I love beating rush hour here, because rush hour, I gotta say, is so screwy. So anyway, we're off, heading off to the classroom building, probably my favorite building on campus. And then second to that would be that beautiful building over there, Rockwell Hall. We got the sun that's gonna be coming up soon, and I'll be getting back to you guys once I get there. So, see you there. So here we are, folks, in the good old classroom building. I'm up here in the lounge. We're doing a little bit of relaxing today. I got all the stuff I need to get done for this week and most of the next week done before today. And that was important, because as I said before, I'm not doing homework this weekend. I got better things to do than that. So, we'll be relaxing for a while. I'll get you guys in a couple of treats later on, so stay tuned for that. And remember, peace out. Hey guys, quick little treat for you. Good morning, Vietnam!
Steven. But one second, I'm just talking to Dr. Fisher for a minute. So Dr. Fisher's on.
Pretty amazing, ain't it?
Okay, all right.
I'll be back.
How you doing, Steven?
I'm
Oh my
going
gosh,
to
no video, no
I'm going to
video, no
Virginia. I'm
video.
going to Virginia tonight.
Hiya. Have a safe trip. Who are you driving with?
I'm going with my dad.
Nice. For the 4 days. Are you going for something special? Or...
Yep, we're going to a few museums and we're going to Gettysburg.
Yay. Good for you.
Isn't this such a lively atmosphere?
It is. I didn't want music yet. I didn't remember music yet. Anyways, hi, Steve. Have a beautiful weekend, Dad. Be safe. Enjoy your son. I think it's amazing. That's something a boy and a father should do.
Amen to that.
Amen, amen, amen. Give me a hug before you go. Dad's go off and take me a hug.
So here I am about to walk into my my first class. Let's see what activity we have today. Morning, Professor.
Morning.
I'm filming this for my Columbus Day weekend vlog. You want to say anything?
You're filming it for what?
For my Columbus Day weekend vlog.
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 Vlog. Oh, have a good time at the in Virginia. And
I'm also-
enjoy the museums.
I'm also going to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania too. It's been confirmed.
Ooh, very cool.
Anybody here want to say anything? Feel free to wave. You'll be on YouTube. And I'm always the most happy person in class. I love it. Well, first class over. Now to head over to the student union and relax for a little while. And then we got one more class. And then we'll be home free. So, let us get a move on, folks. Don't let your butts be hanging around on your couches all day. We got stuff to do. So, let us go a moho. Heading up the stairs now. And we'll be sitting down real soon. So let us see what activity there is today. Seems pretty quiet up here. No matter. At least I can be lively around here. What do you know? Nobody's here yet. Cool. Let's take our seats. And let's relax. Thank you. Well, folks, we're going off to the second class now, so stay tuned, because this will be the last class as we go across campus, and then we'll be home free for the day. So let's get a move on, shall we? Let us roll. All right, heading in now. Hey, Professor.
Good morning.
Would you like to say anything for the vlog today?
No, but thank you.
Now for the second class. Just went up a ramp there. Well, folks, that class is over. It's time to go make a stop or two on the way home. I got a surprise for you then, so we'll catch you guys there. I like the view of Ketchum Hall right there. Yeah, there's Ketchum Hall there, and over there is its twin building, Bacon Hall. I know it's pretty funny to hear such a name. What does that mean with the bacon? Is it extra crispy inside? So, let us get a move on then, shall we? I couldn't agree more. Well, folks, that was an interesting little visit. And here's what I got. Sorry. You see that? That is a 1/72nd scale model of a radical design from World War II called the Panzer 1000 Landkreise, or Ratte, which is German for a rat. So that thing comes in a huge box. I mean, that's because it was a design for a land battleship, or excuse me, land cruiser, hence the German name Landkreise, and it had a turret design to have two 11-inch guns on it. So, whenever I get the chance, I'll build that, but let's get going. We got more things to do. We got a lot to do before tonight, so let's go. Okay, folks, we are back home. So, it is about 2:30. So, I have quite a bit of time. I have 7.5 hours until my father comes home. So, not 7.5, I meant 5.5. So, I'm going to get whatever I can done, enjoy myself a little bit, and probably the next vlog you'll see will be later when I'm either packing or when we're leaving. So, let us have a good rest of the day, and we shall see you then. Let's get ready to roll. Alright, folks, it's a little bit late. It's a little past 11, but we're going, heading out and filling the tank up, get that last quarter up so we can get as far as we can, and then we're heading straight down. So, let's all get going, and let's have a good night on the road tonight. This old baby is gonna get us places. So, let's go places. Morning, everybody. It's about 6:10 in the morning. We are outside what is known as a sweets station, which is kind of similar to a NOCO station in New York, but we are in Stevens City, Virginia. Yes, you heard me say that, Stevens City. That's not the only city that I've heard that has my name, but we're gonna be getting going. We got about 3 hours left of the ride, so I'll be doing the driving of the remainder of the way, so the next time you'll see us is when we are down in Danville. So, we gotta get going. Personally, we just had to stop because my dad had to take a dump. Hopefully it doesn't stink up the place. But anyway, we ain't got much more time to go, and you can see, gotta get back on there because we're going on the 81 south through Staunton, which is about 95 miles from here. So let's get a move on, shall we? Roll out.
Take the next right, then your destination will be on the left. Your destination is on the left.
Well, folks, here we are at stop number 1. Welcome to the Tank Museum of the American Armored Foundation. And my God, is this thing big. Over 300,000 square footage inside there. And yes, I am wearing my military uniform for this. Hoo-yah! Hey, folks. What do you think of this? Anybody who's a wargamer out there, what do you think about this for a new Tier 1 tank in World of Tanks or World of Tanks Blitz, huh? What do you think that is? Let's take a look. I don't know, I'd say that's probably about a 47mm cannon, 50mm. What do you guys think? Nice? Already a hole blown in the wall. Cool. Uniforms. More uniforms. Look at this, everybody. If any of you have ever seen this before, this is an old Gatling gun. If any of you military enthusiasts out there remember what the minigun is today, that is what started the rotary cannon back in the 1860s. Can put out a fierce rate of fire for the time. Isn't ingenuity amazing? Look at that, folks. An M5A1 Stuart, 1/6 scale. Picture that. That's 1/6 the size of a full-size one.
I wonder if they made that. That's what it was made here.
And hence the toy box. Funny. And if you who never knew, Elvis Presley, the famous singer, was definitely in the army. Here's a little joke for you. Anybody ever suspect that at any time Corporal Bone Spurs would? latrines. We call them in the Navy the head. Here's our first stop. Rifle room. Well, folks, here you are with rifles. And I already found the most important of all. Number 16. The Springfield M1, also known as the M1 Garand. Greatest battlefield implement of all time. Absolutely amazing.
This guy kept all these uniforms.
Yep. Lieutenant General Isaruko Yamamoto. Cool.
Steven.
Hey folks, take a look. Anything that you would not expect, look at this. General Feldmarschall Erich von Manstein. How about that? Oh my gosh, and check it out. General von Panzertruppen Hasso von Manteuffel. Now how do you like that? Isn't that incredible? God. What a collection. Hey Rachel, my little sister, this is for you. Remember all that stuff you read about the Holocaust and all that? Well here, Holocaust Victims and Survivors Memorial Display. Want to add anything to it? Go right ahead. Generalfeldmarschall Fedor von Boch. All the patches of the armored divisions. Oh, look at this. If this is what I think it is, this is either a French Hotchkiss machine gun or the Japanese derivative, also known as the woodpecker. Peck, peck, peck. Oi, Soldaten. Sie Generalfeldmarschall Erwin Rommel. Sie deutsches Afrika Korps. There's that brutal old French thing, the show shot. Or, correctly, the show. Anti-tank rifle, that looks like the Russian PTRD. That looks like a boy's anti-tank rifle, I'm pretty sure. The Piat, Thompson, Bren gun, Finnish 20mm, Canadian boys. Way back there is the Colt Browning, the Potato Digger. There's the Japanese Type 92. The one over there is the French. M47 MAW. Russian machine guns. The Sapper anti-tank missile. The bazooka. Let's see what we have over here. What's this? Saying from the scene, 1945, Northern Italy, horror and suffering continues even in this forgotten sector of the war, but human sacrifice and compassion perseveres, as seen by this wounded GI rescuing his mortally wounded comrade. And there, right there, is a Browning M2HB 50 cal Mod Deuce machine gun. War is hell.
A few moments later.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main exhibit hall. Shall we begin? Well, folks, we're in exhibit hall A, or 1, whatever you call it. And this one we're going to start off with. This little beauty here is the American M3 57mm anti-tank gun. This is actually a derivative of the British 6-pounder anti-tank gun. They are both 57mm. This is a very high velocity shell that has a lot of penetration, and this was used to great effect during the Battle of the Bulge, as you see depicted by the painting of the wrecked Panzer IV Ausf G behind it. What you'll realize is the 57mm was not as sought after as the 76mm because they wished to have bigger rounds in their chambers. But the thing is, with the 57mm, it was still good with taking out most of the German tanks from medium to long range. And as you'll know, as it was, we had the three types of anti-tank guns. We had the M1, which was the 37mm, the M3, which is the 57mm, and their larger brother, the M5, which was the 76.2mm. So you can imagine these things taking on the Tiger tanks and knocking them out. Pretty awesome, huh? Let's move on, shall we? You have any idea what this is, folks? Yeah, I didn't think so. This is a design. This is an exhibit resembling a wreck of what is an M56 Scorpion airborne tank destroyer. You see those tires right there? That was to make sure that it would be airborne light to fit in a glider or in a transport aircraft. That right there on the ground is a 90mm gun, which would fire either sabot or heat rounds. These things were used discreetly during the Vietnam War, and also, one thing about it is, the Scorpion had absolutely no armor. It had about 1mm all around. And as you can see, exemplified by this display, it would not last very well if an enemy tank caught sight of it. So, that in mind, you think, what about going back to the tank destroyers that we had during the Second World War? How about we design something off of that? So, let us move on. Moving on swiftly, folks, I'll show you two armored vehicles that I find most fascinating. Right here, we'll start. Now, many of you playing World of Tanks or something like that will probably think at first, well, wait a second, Tank Commander, that's an M7 Priest. Wrong. This is actually the Canadian version. This is the Sexton. And instead of having the 105mm M1A1 howitzer, this has the British 25-pounder on it. The only other time that I have ever seen this vehicle, and no, this is not a tank, this is a self-propelled gun, because it is an armored chassis holding an artillery piece. The only other time that I've ever seen this was at CFB Borden, which was about 2.5 hours north of Toronto, which was about 3 years ago. So, yeah. Moving on to that. This is another tank that I saw at Base Borden. Any of you recognize this monster? I hope you do. This is the Russian T-72G, the Ural. In Russian, that means Jaguar. This is an Iraqi version, which they call the Lion of Babylon. This may look like a fearsome tank at first, and I have actually stood in front of one myself, but this tank suffers from a lot of design issues, and the main one is, I'll come around like this, and pay close attention. That turret there, you can imagine, that thing had its ammunition stored all around the turret ring. What that basically means was, if one of our shells hit the ammunition, that basically meant every time that ammunition blew, that turret was going to go flying off. What tankers would call tipping his hat. The reason for that was because the concussive force that would shoot up would blow the turret off. One person who came here years ago in a video jokingly said, so that's what it looked like with its turret on. Because they were in the Iraq War. So yeah. A fearsome beast, and it's, well, kind of mediocre in a way, you could say. It stands no chance against the Abrams now, does it? Let's move on. Hey, fighter pilots, this one's for you. Can you figure this one out, what this is? I hope you guessed it's an M167 20mm Vulcan minigun, because that's what it is. This thing is an incredible weapon system. I love this thing. 20mm, 4,500 rounds a minute. And this thing can do devastating effects to enemy aircraft. And what I've actually done at home is I've actually designed World War II aircraft to equip this thing. It's a very effective machine. One would say this was the rebirth of the rotary cannon system. And you can imagine fighter aircraft nowadays have to be equipped with this, because if their missiles malfunction or something, they gotta be willing to do it the old-fashioned way. So, with that said, let's buzz along, shall we? Alright, folks, we're on to the next two. Let's take a look, shall we? This next one, you're probably thinking, that's pretty similar to what we just saw, because it is. This is an M113 armored personnel carrier equipped with the M167 20mm Vulcan minigun system. For those who play War Thunder by Gaijin, this is an anti-aircraft vehicle. And it's one of the most effective anti-aircraft vehicles, I should say. And the other one I could say would probably be the Blitz, which can take out other tanks as well. And if you've seen, and I think, if I remember correctly, it was either the Shermanator or Bowtime Gaming or, Baron von Games. When they played Men of War Assault Squad 2, they did a custom battle between this thing and the Leopard 1 tank. And this thing actually took out a Leopard. So, you can imagine this was an effective system, wasn't in use for very long, but you gotta remember, that's just how it is in war. Moving on, the next vehicle. Here's an armored car for you. This is a Hungarian PSZH-4 armored car from the Cold War era. I think, if I remember correctly, it's from the 1960s as well. Four-wheel, frankly, it's not as effective as the six-wheel design, but it still can get the job done. Oh, here's another thing for you. Let me show you this behind you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the RC Tank Battlefield. The tanks that are in the shop, which are 1/16 scale, battle it out here. And I have seen so many videos of this. You can imagine, this is an incredible place to come if you ever get the chance to. And I suggest you do take that chance. So, with that said, let's continue on with the tour, shall we? I'm glad you agree. Alright, folks, next on the tour, we have two more. This right here is a 1960s M65 dual mount 50 cal machine gun pedestal. You can imagine, these things could still be effective for low-flying, slow-flying aircraft. And I must say, it definitely packs a punch. Remember what I said before, a 50 cal machine gun round is as big as your thumb, and that's just the bullet projectile itself. So you can imagine having two of those shoot up at you. Moving on, and this one is actually very interesting here. I'm actually going to go around for this. Anybody ever seen this before? You probably haven't. This is a French Hotchkiss 25mm anti-tank gun. Now, technically, it's not necessarily an anti-tank gun, it's more of an anti-tank rifle on a mobile mount. These things, during the German Blitzkrieg, could wreak havoc on German panzers, because these things could penetrate any German armor at the time. And you gotta think, at the time, German panzers had no more than maximum 30 millimeters of armor. And this thing was incredibly accurate. There is a picture from the Battle of France that showed 4 consecutive hits from one of these guns on a Panzer IV right around the driver's vision port, and they were just inches apart. So you can imagine, this thing was super effective. Now, I apologize, I'm going to show you a couple more things with this. Like, for example, right down here, that is a recoilless rifle. Now, you're probably thinking, well, it looks just like a regular anti-tank gun. Well, it actually isn't, because a recoilless rifle has a chamber at the back, right there, which absorbs the recoil, and literally when it fires, it doesn't move. It may shudder a little, but the recoil, which is the back blast from it, doesn't do anything. Now also, here's another interesting thing, and you'll like this for those who like German hardware. Take a look at this. Anybody know what this is? For those that have played Sniper Elite 3 Africa, you should know this is a Nebelwerfer, smoke projector. These things were known as screaming mimis or moaning minis. We called them the moaning minis. I'm pretty sure the British called them the screaming mimis. These things could fire 6-shot bursts every 1 to 5 seconds. These things were devastating in salvos. They were similar to the Russian Katyusha, or also known as Stalin's organ. So, with that being said, let's continue the tour, shall we? Hey folks, ever wonder what was the most widely produced vehicle of World War II? I'll give you a moment to think.
A few moments later. 2 hours later.
Time's up. If you guessed the Sherman, you're wrong. T-34, wrong. If you guessed the Jeep, wrong as well. Deuce and a half truck, wrong as well. The most widely produced vehicle of World War II is actually the one standing right behind me, and this one's for sale. This is an American version of the British Bren gun carrier, or the Universal Carrier. I've only seen one of these elsewhere, which was also at Base Borden. And you can imagine, more than 140,000 of these were produced. And it was very universal as well. Small, fast, couldn't carry a lot of armament, but it could definitely get the job done. Also behind me, look over there, that is a Huey Cobra helicopter. It's missing its triple barrel chain gun, but that's no matter. We're here to see the tanks, not the helicopters. We'll see those in tomorrow, so let's move on. Okay, folks, here's something for you. These next two things I saw both side by side at Base Borden in Canada. Let's take a look, shall we? The first one you see behind me is a German PaK-36 37mm anti-tank gun. There's not really much more to say. This thing was pretty effective at the beginning of the war, but after that, it really just dropped out of favor. And moving on behind that, that right there is an Austrian Bowler 47mm anti-tank gun. It was also designed off of the Skoda Czech anti-tank gun as well. These things were actually a lot more effective at taking out enemy armor than the 37mm, believe it or not. And any of those that play World of Tanks or World of Tanks Blitz, you should know because of the Panzerjäger. The Panzerjäger 1, which is the Panzerjäger 1, the Tier 2 German tank destroyer. And look behind that, similar to Buffalo, there's an anti-aircraft missile. And moving on from that, we have some other things. Take a look at this. There's an M113 with a missile launch system, and one that's even better. Here's a Willys Jeep with a recoilless rifle through the windshield. That's right. That's a 106mm recoilless rifle. Those things were devastating, and those that were used on Jeeps, equally devastating. What can I say? American ingenuity in regards to armor and stuff like that is absolutely beyond compare. Alright folks, here's the next one. Take a look at this. See these two babies? These are examples of the American M2 8-inch or 203mm heavy field howitzer. These things were some of the heaviest artillery ever used by the US military after the 210mm howitzer known as the Black Dragon. These things, you would not want to be in a German Panzer looking down the barrel of these things, because all these things would really need to do is basically, how they would say it, sneeze at you in order to destroy you. So, yeah. And then finally, we come to la pièce de résistance of the hall, right here. Ladies and gentlemen, World of Tanks players, say hello to the M18 Hellcat, the GMC M18. Gun motor carriage M18. The famed little tank destroyer that was a thorn in the German side since they came into service in 1944. 76.2mm gun, shoot and scoot, could go up to 60 miles an hour. And that thing was meant to take on Tiger tanks. Isn't that pretty? One of the most loved and hated vehicles of all wartime. One other thing, I'll show you these weapons over here. So, let me show you. Start off here. That, my friends, is the barrel of a 90mm gun from an M48 Patton tank. Falling behind, that is a German Panzerabwehrkanone 40. Panzerabwehrkanone is the long version for PaK-40, which stands for anti-tank gun in German. This thing was devastating to all Allied armor, including the Russian heavy tanks. Also, and then there's this bunker here, which I'm not sure, but let me see if I'm correct. This bunker, I'm pretty sure, houses another Hotchkiss 25mm anti-tank rifle. So, yeah. It's pretty menacing when you look at it up close. You would not want to be an early German tanker in that. And look over there. There's the 50 cal quad mount. You don't want to have 450s coming at you. Or more. So, let's move on. Folks, have I got a super special treat for you. This, I cannot believe, are here. Take a look at these. These three guns you see behind me are something that's really incredible. The one on the right, over there, is a Swedish Bofors 37mm anti-tank gun. When you look at it, if you've seen in history books, that's also the Polish 37mm anti-tank gun. That was the copy of it, licensed copy. But you look at these two behind me, what are those? Those, my friends, are some of the most forgotten weapons of all time. These are the 37mm guns produced by Bethlehem Steel. I like that. These are Bethlehem Steel guns. They are so rare, you're never going to find these in a lot of places at all. It's absolutely incredible that these are here. Boy, it would be great to get some of those. Now, we're actually going to move on, so follow me. Can any of you tell what this little devil is? This is the Japanese 47mm anti-tank gun. This thing, it was equipped, if you guys know from your World of Tanks, is that this, which of course is the Type 1, is the gun that equips the Shinhoto Chiha, which is the model of the Tier 5 Japanese tank in World of Tanks. This thing, unfortunately, is the gun that mortally wounded my great-great-uncle Edmund in the Battle of the Philippines on January 14th, 1945. Or excuse me, January 11th. First day of the operation, he's the first tank knocked out. but he didn't immediately die. But this is actually a Japanese licensed copy of the German Pak-38 50mm anti-tank gun. So yeah, that's pretty incredible. Moving on, of course we see another Gatling gun. These things are so pretty. Oh, you look here. Now this thing, look at this. That thing is a nuclear missile. I kid you not. This is what this is. This is an Honest John nuclear missile. Pretty crazy, isn't it? Now have a look at this. This thing is a cannon. And if I'm not mistaken, oh my god, this, everybody, is the turret simulator. World of Tanks fans, I hope you know the turret that this is for. This is for the turret for the M6 heavy tank from 1941. Is that not cool? When you see stuff like this, it's so hard to believe that they could still have stuff like that. Now next, here's something. Yeah, that's a 106mm recoilless rifle. I don't think you would really want to be an enemy tanker staring down the barrel of that. Now then, we're going to move and see some of the more unusual things that we have here. So, let's continue. Hey, Wargaming fans and War Thunder fans, can you figure out what this one is? I hope you know. That's right. This is a Panzer IV, a Panzer IV. This, I know, many people would think that that's an H variant, but no, this is the Panzer IV Ausführung G. The reason why you can tell is it does not have side skirts. The H always had side skirts. It's the G because it only has the protection for the turret. This one, I actually read, is a very rare tank in itself. This one was knocked out in 1945 in the war, in World War II, but was rebuilt by Czechoslovakia, and when the Russians took these, this one was given to the Syrian army. And during the Arab-Israeli war, the Israelis knocked this one out. This saw action in the Golan Heights, and it is unbelievably rare to survive. Can you believe that? Such a tank has got to be respected. And I respect it. And I personally love the Panzer IV. It's my favorite all-around German tank. No offense, I prefer the Aus F2, which is the one before this. Now then, let's continue on, shall we? Vorwärts, Soldaten! Los, los! Alright, folks, moving on next door. If any of you remember this from War Thunder or anything, that's right. This is the M60A2 Patton, also known as the Starship. Why is it called that? Because you look at that gun right there, that is a 152mm howitzer meant for demolishing fortifications. And if it had a heat round in it, it could take on enemy tanks. 57 tons, and equipped with that for demolition service. I don't think you'd really want to be on the receiving end of that, whether in armor or in infantry. Ouch. Here's the next one, folks. You take a look at this. This right here is a US self-propelled gun. This is actually the M108, which is the predecessor to the M109 and the M109A6 Paladin, which is used in the US Army and Marine Corps today. This thing only has a 105mm howitzer on it, when the M109 and M109A6 have M777 155mm airborne howitzers. Now you can imagine, this came a long way, and you realize this self-propelled gun has a turret. Self-propelled guns nowadays have turrets on them. That is crucial for development. Now also, I'm going to take you alongside to another vehicle as well. And there are just so many of these here. So, at least you gotta get a little bit familiar. So, ladies and gentlemen, this right here is the M60A1 Patton main battle tank. How is it an M60? Well, one thing is, it's an M60A1 with an M48A3 Commander's cupola. The reason is because of the flat hull there, but also, it does not have the conical turret, but it does have this big 105mm gun. The reason being is because it's not an M48, is because the M48s mainly had 90mm until the M48A5. But this is an M60, so yeah. So, we're going to move on, and you're going to see another Cold War vehicle. So, you'll take a look at this, and I'll say this is pretty incredible to find this. And this is rare. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the 2S3 Mishta, which means acacia, which is a flower on a thorn tree. This thing is a Russian self-propelled gun with a 122mm gun howitzer. And if it's my best guess, seeing by the chassis, this thing was probably built on the chassis of either a... It's really hard to say because I can't really tell half the time what these modern Russian self-propelled guns are. But judging by the colors, this is probably an Iraqi one that was probably taken out. Because if you look at the gun on there, that looks like it took a direct hit for some reason. So, and let's actually take a look. It says on the card. Yep, I was right. This was given to the Iraqi forces and was captured during Operation Desert Storm in 1991. So, you can imagine comparing this thing with a 122 compared to an M109A6 Paladin with a 155mm, this thing really didn't stand much of a chance. And if it's still in service today, which it is, mainly in places like North Korea and all that, well, you get where I'm going. Alright, folks, here's what we're going to do with this. We're going to go along in a line, and you're going to see some amazing military vehicles. Take a look at this giant thing behind me. What is this? This is the American M110A2 heavy self-propelled gun. What is that up there? That is a 203mm cannon. The previous version, the M110A1, had a 175mm cannon. Both of these were used in the Vietnam War and were used as late as the 90s. This thing had a lot of punch. Remember, 203mm, 8 inches. No thank you. Now this next one is very infamous, of course, as you should know. Recognize it, fans? That's the Russian T-3485 from 1943. I don't think we need to have any further explanation of that now, do we? American half-track. This one is a unique vehicle. Check this one out. This right here is the M42 Duster, which was an anti-aircraft vehicle from the Korean and Vietnam Wars. Twin Bofors 40mm anti-aircraft guns. So yeah, you can imagine seeing this thing. This thing could lay down some explosive fire. In fact, it was also fast, because that chassis right there is of a Walker Bulldog, M41. Pretty incredible, isn't it? Now, this next one, I hope your World of Tanks players are paying quite attention. Recognize this? This is the M55 self-propelled gun. That's right, with the 155mm howitzer on it. Experimental. There were only a few surviving, and this museum happens to have one. Also, coming down to the end, recognize this? Anybody in the Marines? That's right, this is an LVT Amtrak. So, you can imagine, this was a very crucial vehicle in both Europe and especially the Pacific. Now, let's move on. I'm doing to make this quick because we got other places to go. But hey, you're getting the chance to explore, aren't you? Hope you're enjoying it. This one here, this one I have also seen at Base Borton, right here. That right there is a Daimler Dingo scout car. Ain't it cute? And it's short. It's shorter than I am. Now here's one for you. Recognize this? This is an M48A3 Patton. Now this is the M48. Now you can see that may look like a 105mm gun, but it isn't. That's the 90mm gun, only its muzzle brake has been removed. And the way you can tell it's the M48A3 is because you look at that cupola up there. And also, the M48s had this rounded hull front here. It's pretty incredible, just the way these things went. In fact, my barber, Joseph Ferrara, who was a sergeant in the 127th Tank Battalion stationed at Fort Drum during the 50s and 60s, was an ammunition loader to help load these things. And one night, his company fell asleep in the tank fields, and all of a sudden, one night, the tanks came rolling in. Oh boy. He woke up the next morning, what did he find? He found a tank tread 2 feet from his head. Spooky, isn't it? Oh, this one I've always wanted to see in real life. Take a look at this, folks. This, my friends, I hope you know what the heck this is. This is an M103 heavy tank from 1954. This thing was not used in any service whatsoever. One said that it was used in Vietnam. That is absolutely not true. Oh, I just gotta do this. Take a look. This thing was used as a fear factor during the Cold War to scare the Russians, because remember, they had the IS-2 and the IS-3, which had 122mm guns, and this thing had a 120. So yeah, you can imagine, and any World of Tanks players, you know how to use it. Show them. Moving on. This is the M60A3 Patton. A3 because you look at the shape of the turret. This is the conical egg-shaped turret instead of the old ovular turret. Also, it has that machine gun pulpit up top in the cupola. Not really much more to say there. We just gotta keep moving because we got limited time. We got a couple of old tractors here. Well, here's something for you guys. Take a look at this. You see that? Separated with the turret and the hull? That is an M551 Sheridan light tank, armed with the 152mm derp gun. Well, Tanks players, I hope you know what I'm talking about. And you War Thunder players. I speak for both. Yeah, look at this thing. Surprise! I don't think you want to be on the receiving end of that. And moving on here, this little cute thing is the Ferret. It is a British armored car from the Second World War. Isn't that cute? Ah, here's a good classic. Recognize this, boys and girls? That is an M4A3E8 Sherman, but it has a dozer blade on it too, with the muzzle brake removed. I gotta tell you, tanks like this were such crucial during the war. And I gotta tell you, it's absolutely amazing. What say you about that? Tell me in the comments. Alright folks, moving on. We're gonna wrap up this with these next vehicles. Well, Tanks players, recognize this? You're probably thinking, that's an M46 Patton. Wrong. You people should know, this is the M47 Patton. The upgraded version in World of Tanks has the M47 turret. Now realize, the M47 is different from the M48s because it's still on the M46 Patton hull, but it has the new 90mm, which the M48s would use afterwards. Oh, these ones are awesome right here, guys. Take a look at this. These two, front and back, are M5 76.2mm anti-tank guns. These are the guns that could take out Tigers. Yeah, these things had a lot of punch. Now, here's something for you artillery players in World of Tanks. Recognize this little thing? That's an M37 on the M24 Chaffee chassis with a 105mm howitzer. Isn't it cute? Oh, this was considered one of the worst anti-aircraft weapons of all time. Hey, War Thunder fans, take a look. It's a Sergeant York with a twin 40mm. I actually came up with a design once to have one known as the Zwilling, which is German for twin, and it would not have two 40mm Bofors guns, but it would have two 20mm miniguns. That would actually be pretty effective, now wouldn't it? I feel bad because so many things could be put to better use. Now, here's yet another one of these things, so take a look. This right here is an M48A5 patent. How is it an M48A5? Because it still has the rounded hull, the ovular turret, but this is the only version of the M48 to have the 105mm gun. Every version before that had the 90mm. Remember that. Oh. Hey folks. Artillery players in World of Tanks, I hope you recognize this. Say hello to the GMC M44. Or HMC, excuse me. That's another 105 or 155mm howitzer there. Better said than done. Now, have a look at this right here. Have you people recognize that? That's a Russian T-55. But this one is different because this one served with the Polish army. How do you like that? The Poles use this. Though, frankly, no offense, everybody, I don't like it. It still had the same problem that would be with the T-62, T-64, and the T-72, and the T-80, and the T-80 BV and U, and the T-90. All the ammo stored underneath that turret, ready to blow. Now then, we're going to move on to the last exhibit hall, so let's get a move on. Alrighty folks, here's the next stuff on the tour. Take a look at these walls. Right there is another Austrian 47mm anti-tank gun. Right there is a Japanese 37mm anti-tank gun. Those things were absolutely terrible. No wonder they had to move to the 47mm. There, boys and girls, is a good one. That is the 20mm Oerlikon. You can see that on plenty of ships now, can't you? Also, here's an early German 75mm field howitzer. This is a very light gun, so it wouldn't be used too much during the war. Here's something for you. Here's the OQF quickfire, what is it? Oh yeah, the 18-pounder. Now this was kind of silly because it had such a large recoil spring above the barrel, which is pretty crazy. Oh, here's another Pak-36. Oh, look at that, it's got a Panzerraketen, which means Panzer rocket. Here's an old 3-inch field gun. Oh, this is 1905 dated, model 1904. Basically used during the First World War by the US. Again, here we go with another 25mm Hotchkiss anti-tank rifle. I know it may sound silly that they call it an anti-tank rifle, but that's basically what it is, because it was just 1-inch diameter, but the reason why they had the mobile mount was so it could be mobile. Duh. Next, here is a Pak howitzer, the 75mm. Some old children's tanks here. Here's some big old gun shells here. Ah. Here is another American M3 57mm. Here, let's just go right ahead. Awesome. To be completely honest, they should have equipped more tanks, or mainly light tanks, with that. And then here's another gun from us. Oh. This, if I'm not mistaken, let's actually check as well. Yep, I was right. This is a German Feldkanone from the First World War. This is the 77mm, and if I'm not mistaken, this is probably the FK-16, which would have been the longer version used for the anti-tank service. And oh my god, everybody, one of the most favorite Russian anti-tank guns. Any reference to the glass cannon, I'm thinking, in War Thunder? That's right, everybody. This bad boy right here is a Russian ZIS-2 57mm anti-tank gun. These things were a lot more effective than the ZIS-3, its bigger brother, at 76.2mm, because this thing had higher velocity and greater armor penetration. So how do you like that? A ZIS-2. I love it. So, we're going to continue onwards, so keep watching. You're going to like this. So, here we go. Tracked artillery tractor here. Here is the M3 half-track with the quad mount 50, one of everybody's favorite half-track variants. Especially in War Thunder, when you can literally tear apart enemy armored cars with this thing. Now hang on, because we gotta go back around for this. I apologize, but this is just the way the museum is set up. See, here's a old spotlight. And if you look right over there, that is an American variant of the French Renault FD17 or FT17. Pretty cool, isn't it? We called it what'd it say? We call it the Light Tank Mark 1917, or 1918, excuse me. That's pretty incredible. Yo, Daddy-O, say hi! We got an APC right there. We're gonna continue moving. Check this out. Here's an engine. Pretty cool, huh? Oh, is this what I'm thinking it is? Let's see if I'm correct. Yep, everybody. This is a German Flugzeugabwehrkanone, or flak gun. This is a 37mm anti-aircraft gun used by the German army during the Second World War. Is that not cool? Just the way you look at that. And this was a medium anti-aircraft gun, note. The light ones would have been 20mm or smaller. Now here's this bad boy. This right here is the M1A2 155mm howitzer. The reason why I say 155 is because the M1 was a 105mm, but you can see by the size of this thing, this is not a 105mm. Now, if you guys remember from my little thing with the Scorpion earlier, take a look at this. This is what an intact M56 Scorpion looks like. As I said, this thing has no armor on it whatsoever. The only thing that you could probably have a bounce off of is the gun. This is known as the American glass cannon. Now, as we move on, before we go on, we're going to show you this. So, bear with me just a moment. This gun right here is a model 1906 US 6-pounder gun from the First World War. It's pretty incredible, isn't it? Yeah, no gun you should ever want to be behind. So we also have an M113 here. Here's a scout car. If you've ever seen the Veterans Day Parade in Buffalo, this has been in there twice, which I have seen both times. Sorry, you're going to be hearing machine gun sounds and stuff like that because there's a movie playing. Oh, pardon me, it's actually the Russian movie White Tiger, or Billy Tiger. Now, any of you light tank players out there, I hope you know this one. You see it? M41 Walker Bulldog. Pretty incredible, isn't it? Now we continue moving on. Another M113. That over there, that is an M2 Bradley fighting vehicle. Is that not cool? an M2 Bradley. Now, if only I could see an Abrams in real life. Here's another M113, like we saw out front. We're just wrapping things up here. There's very few vehicles left, so we're going to show you these. Another armored car that might be similar to the one that was in the other building. Or not the other building, the other hall. Here is a tracked amphibious armored personnel carrier. Let me just check and see which variant it is, because I may be wrong. This is the M548A1 cargo carrier. So yeah, pretty cool. Now, here's someone for you. Oh, light tanks players. Here we are. An M5 Stuart. This is the earliest version. This is the M5A1. Or, not the M5A1, excuse me. This is the original M5 Stuart. Let me show you why. If you look at this tank, you look at that turret, that is not the M5A1 turret. This is actually the M3 turret from the previous version. So, we continue moving on. There's also another armored personnel carrier right there. Here's one for you. This one right here is an M113 with a 50 cal machine gun mount on it. If you think that's not incredible, I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. Now, this last one that I'm going to show you guys to wrap up this museum. This one, let's see if any of you can figure this one out. World of Tanks players, no hints to anybody. Alright, folks, take a look. Tell me what you think this is and where it comes from. I'll give you a few seconds.
A few moments later.
Okay, time's up. If any of you guessed Sweden, you are correct. This is the Swedish Stridsvagn STRV-74, which was supposed to be a medium tank from the late 1960s, early 70s. Why it has the turret is because it had to fit that 75mm gun there. This is pretty incredible. Now, if any of you guys play World of Tanks or World of Tanks Blitz, I also have an STRV-74, but that one has the turret from the AMX 1375 with an autoloader in it. Now then, I hope you guys enjoyed this first stop, because we're going to go to the shop right now and we're going to get things before we get to our next stop. So, you guys will catch us again on the road. I hope you guys enjoyed this part, so let's continue on with the first day.
Two hours later.
Continue on Birch Street for 1 mile.
In 1¼ mile.
In 800 feet, your destination will be on the left.
This is it? Is this it?
Looks like it.
Railroad Avenue? No.
Evening, folks. Welcome to Clifton Forge, Virginia. And as you saw me pull in, welcome to the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway Heritage Center. I gotta say, it's a quaint little place down here, and it is beautiful weather. You'll see I'm only wearing the bottom half of my uniform. It's pretty nuts. The little thing you saw me walk over, get all of this. Right there beside the big train is a little model railway, and we even have a junction tower here Pretty amazing, huh? Hey, come on. We're gonna get a chance to see a real train go across the tracks. So let's go. I gotta make it quick because the museum's already closed, but there's not too much to see down here anyways, so what the heck? Oh, you can hear them. Oh, yep, here. If you can't see it, I'm sorry about that, but it's kind of hard when this thing's on a selfie stick. Oh, this is sweet. And check out this big, beautiful locomotive. The Greenbrier. The name of the locomotive, or the train. Here, I can do this for you guys. I hope you can see it now. Managed to get them to blow the whistle. Or excuse me, the horn. Ha ha ha. It's quite an incredible sight here. It's funny that with Amtrak coming through a couple times a week, and you still see all these freight trains that come through. Here now, how's that view? Pretty nice? Yeah. We come and look at this huge beauty. Pretty nice, huh? We walk along, we see it's got 4 pilot wheels, 8 drivers, and 4 wheels under the firebox. That means this bad boy is a mountain type, a 484. And if you look at this on the side of the tender of this locomotive, you look at the name, the Greenbrier Presidential Express. Now, isn't that cool? The only other time that I ever saw stuff like this was down in Scranton, and that was that was last year, actually. I'm sorry about the glare of the sun. Let's see. Ah, there we go. That's better. But yeah, we get a chance to walk along this old train. It's pretty. Now, I'm not sure if I can do this, but let's see. Give a quick look inside it. Oh yeah. There we go. Isn't that nice? Looks like the freight train's slowing down outside to a stop almost. That's because they're coming through the valley. And if you have a look outside, there's the Heritage Center, and that used to be the old depot. You can imagine the tracks used to come right through here and would stop over there. The building that's over there, and I'll show you, that building right there past the tower, that's actually a recreation of the old depot. It actually used to stand down a lot further. But I know this is short, but what can I say? One ferroequinologist and military enthusiast, their work is never done. So, to wrap this up, I will say that it was interesting coming here. I managed to get a book that I've been looking for a very long time. And speaking of ferroequinologist, if you wonder what that means, ferroequinologist is split into 2 things. Ferro, which means iron, and equine means horses. Ferroequinologist is somebody who studies iron horses, and ferroequinology is the study of the railroads. See? You learn something every day, now don't you? So, as we be going, you take one last look at this beautiful train here. It's time to get back going, because we're getting on the highway tonight, and we're heading to our hotel in Chantilly, Virginia, near the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center, for the Smithsonian, which we'll be going to tomorrow. So, once we are all set, we are going to be getting back on the road, and we'll be there in a few hours. So, we will see you guys there, and that will be the continuation of day one. We hope you guys enjoyed this part. So, feel free to leave your comments in the link below. And then remember to subscribe and help me get up to 1,000 subscribers. See you guys later. I hope you enjoyed it.
Oh, wow.
An unexpected visitor.
You notice he's slowing down now.
Yep.
Eastbound track.
You think so?
Yeah, I know so. Because the westbound is on the westbound track, and that's on another yard lead on the other side of that other inbound.
Now what about Amtrak? Which track does it come in on?
It usually comes in on westbound on near track and eastbound.
I bet that's got to be a real headache for the freight trains coming through here.
Oh yeah, because they got to leave room for them.
Passenger trains have right of way
No, they don't.
in certain areas.
The railroads have to give them lead time and unless that one is on the yard track.
That one looks like it's coming up the middle.
All right.
Maybe that's the horn that was heard. Probably.
I was looking here at the pedals and stuff here. Yeah, I guess it's like pedals or something. Well, those are the brake levers. Brake levers, oh, you can actually shake them from here. Yep.
So, it's a little bit later than we were expecting. I'm going to be heading out. Check this out. All aboard. I just got in a nifty conversation with some railroad and military enthusiasts. A guy was wearing a shirt from the battleship Texas, the Lone Star of Texas, as you know it. Well, as some would know it, including me. And it's interesting, the way that the engineer said is that as you look, there are 3 trains here at the same time. 3. There are 3 tracks, and they say that 3 trains here at the same time is a very rare oddity, you could say. But yeah, so I'm heading back to our car, so we're gonna be heading to the DC area, and maybe, just maybe, I might be able to get a shot of the Pentagon. So let's get a move on, and let's get the remaining parts of this day going. So, see you guys there. Not really.
There's a car.
Continue on US 60 Business East for 2 miles.
In 2 miles, take the ramp on the right to US 60 East toward Lexington.
So long, Clifton Forge. We loved ya. Well, everyone, here we are, Chantilly, Virginia. This is our hotel right here, the Residence Inn. And right across the way, all the way over there, that's where the Stephen F. Varghese Center is for the Smithsonian, right near Dulles International. I don't believe I have to remind you of what Dulles is infamous for all those years ago, but we're gonna have a nice night, so I'll see if I can get one more vid in. So, let us head in and relax for the night.
You get out of the way.
Nope. So here we are in the room, and this is the nice place about our Residence Inn. Check it out. We got a full kitchen with a fridge, freezer, oven, stove, microwave, sink. Got a table, sofa that folds out into a bed, TV in here, bed in here with another TV, full bathroom here, and another bed, a desk, TV, lamp, another closet, sink, and an entire big bathroom over here. This is nice. This is not just a hotel. This is a Residence Inn. As we look, well, check that out. There's a little basketball court down there. I can see the pools over there.
Yeah.
And just out over that way is where the Stephen F. Varghese Center is. So we'll be seeing that tomorrow. I'll see if I can get maybe one more video or so in. We'll see you guys later. Say something, Daddy-O.
Good night.
See, folks, this is what happens when my dad relaxes on a couch or in a bed. He's going to fall asleep, no matter how much he denies it. And if you have family members like that, well, we'll probably be seeing you guys in the morning, so I'll probably get one last video in, maybe. See you then.